Who's coming on board?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Graham Pollard will be taking us through the workshop item. So I think Graham's with us.
I am with you.
Lovely.
Okay, so when you're ready.
Thank you.
I think I'm ready. Yeah.
Thanks, Graham. Welcome.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chair. And good morning, everybody. This is a workshop item going through what's been quite a complex draft submission on the Ministry for the Environment's discussion document on the emissions reduction plan that they are putting together. Now, I was hoping I might be able to share a graphic, but I'm not sure that I can just at the moment. But basically, what the situation the government's in, the Climate Change Commission, you may recall earlier in the year, set a number of carbon emissions budgets for 2025, period to 2030 and the period to 2035. And currently on present policies that are proposed, we're not going to get our national emissions down that far. So the ministry is looking for feedback on what they're proposing so far, plus any more ideas. So this isn't a submission on an emissions reduction plan as such. They're just scouting for more ideas. So across council, we've put together this draft submission that needs to be with the ministry by the 24th. That's a week tomorrow. The main points that we've put in so far are support for the general remarks by Local Government New Zealand and Taituara, that local government needs to know what is expected from it. The document talks about the role that local government needs to have in helping move our communities into a low emissions economy and lifestyle, but it doesn't actually tell us what they're expecting us to do or set any targets or anything like that. We're also making the point that this is going to cost a lot, and if we're going to rely just on rates funding, then that's going to be difficult to achieve an equitable transition across all of our communities. And also there needs to be some joined up thinking across government, because we've got obviously some major reviews going on at the moment. This is yet another one. So there needs to be joined up thinking, and that joined up thinking needs to include local government and the various other sectors where those are appropriate. The original discussion document posed 110 questions. We have not tried to answer 110 questions. Some of them don't really fall within the scope of council anyway. So we've got some responses that we think we can reasonably put forward to reflect council's perspective, as well as supporting, as I say, LG, NZ and Taituara. So I'm happy to go through this and gather your thoughts. Councillor St Pierre has emailed some comments through as well.
Yep. Have they been circulated, Graham, to the other councillors?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I've got them here and I can make the general points that she's making as we come to them. I'm just wondering whether we go through this sort of page by page, and happy to take on board any other comments that everybody has. Obviously then we need to work on the next version of this submission. If I can do that by the end of the week, then I should be able to get that round to you at the end of the week, just so we can sign it off at the beginning of next week.
Graham, one of the headlines that Claire's got from page 5 is a nature-based solution, and she tells about more carbon is stored in soil, 44%, than living biomass at 42%. The Climate Change Committee that reported back completely dismissed the carbon storage in pastures. And if you go on the ABC, I had a look at the rural website there in Australia, and they are very, very advanced in soil carbon. And I'm not too sure why it's discounted, but with all the pastoral area that we have, particularly in the Waikato and Waipaha, there's a whole lot of opportunities to offset that are not being realised. I just wondered if something needed to be added into there to the committee review that, or the Ministry for the Environment review that. Even in America and Canada, they're getting into that.
I think we can certainly do that. The point that Claire's making is around making the case for regenerating and restoring native forests, rather than, I think the term that she used is agricultural tree plantations. And the sequestration of carbon in soils is an example of that. But from what I can recall from the discussion document, they're talking around native forests on the steeper slopes and the less agriculturally productive land. So in that sense, there then becomes, I think, quite a reasonable argument for drawing attention to the sequestration, particularly in soil within our agricultural areas, particularly in this district. So I think we can certainly add in something to that effect as well, which of course ties into the highly productive land NPS as well, in trying to protect those. That's why I say we need joined up thinking amongst all of these instruments.
She, but Claire's saying she basically agrees with the views, just with a few tweaks, and she's talking about having some wastewater treatment plants, new technology, reducing methane and getting ETS credits for those sorts of things. I'm not too sure whether that's a runner or not. I'm not technically proficient at that.
Well, we can look into that a bit further, and certainly the emissions from wastewater treatment plants, particularly I think the Cambridge plant, is something that the Waters team are already looking into. Because certainly that is a major source of wiper carbon emissions that we can do something about potentially. And the other point that Claire was making on the planning question, I think it's called on page 9, question 33. The response there was seeing whether there's any tools we can use, any evidence-based tools to compare carbon emissions from various configurations of urban and commercial areas of different densities, so we can try to find some kind of optimal urban form for future planning decisions. Those are basically her 3 points.
That's true.
It'd be good to have how realistic they are at this stage. I'm not sure, and this is part of the problem that the ministry points out. They've got all these policy ideas, but there's still a lot of work being done to try to work out just what the emissions impacts of these policies would be. So the gap between where we want to be and where we are could be even bigger than we currently expect.
Wow. Thanks, Bruce.
Graham, I was very on 52 transport. I was very pleased when you do you support the target to reduce vehicle kilometres, and you put the rural perspective in there, which is dead true of our district in particular.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Absolutely crucial that in a district like ours, where we've got these towns, but we've got some far-flung rural communities that really rely on private transport. Certainly for the next few years, quite how you get a public transport model that's going to serve those communities economically, I don't know, but then I'm not a transportation engineer, but certainly if we're looking at an equitable transition for everybody, which obviously is the case, if it's equitable, then we need to take account of the impacts on those very rural areas.
Graham, the thing that they were grappling with at the Land Transport is it doesn't matter whether you go north, south, east or west, you're actually going through Waipa, you're actually going through the Waikato. So all the heavy transport vehicles that are heading in and out of the main centres transport through our region, and that actually makes us look worse in terms of the emissions.
Yeah.
Any more questions that need to be raised to Graham?
Is there anything I've missed? Are there any points that I've overlooked or the team have overlooked in putting this together? Or are you happy with this as it is?
Well, just quickly going through it, Graham, there's just a couple of points there that we've already done, and it appeared that you've done a really good job and the team's done a good job of how you've put that. So I don't know whether anybody else disagrees with me or not. But no hands up. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Next one.
Suits me because it's something that I don't need to spend quite so much time on for the rest of the week, but there's always lots of other things stacking up, as you can imagine. Yeah. But now this is potentially quite a big one, and I personally am keen that Waipa puts in a good submission to the ministry and is seen to be contributing to this discussion in a positive way.
Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I might also add that in our December Service Delivery Committee meeting, we'll be bringing a report to the committee around council as an organisation in terms of our carbon monitoring and reduction program, and looking at some initiatives in terms of how we can start to, as an organisation, reduce our carbon emissions, and looking at things like incorporating it into our design parameters, our business case assessment and the like. So we'll be bringing that to you in December to have that discussion.
Yeah, thanks, Dawn. Looking forward to that. That'll be good. Okay. You have a series of questions there, Graham. Does anybody have any questions or any answers on those questions that they want to share with Graham?
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Lou.
Yeah, just quickly, Graham, it says here on item number 56, they just stopping or limiting light vehicles with internal combustion engines. A hydrogen operation is very much like an internal combustion engine. It's compression ignition, but I would just wonder whether that is the right terminology. That was all. They've got to consider hydrogen, and it's very, very similar in construction to what we have as an internal combustion engine.
Thank you, Councillor. The questions that I've posed them are a direct copy from the document, as you might expect. So that is their phraseology. I am seeing more and more, or hearing more and more people questioning whether we are over relying on electric vehicles and battery powering everything. And I am hearing on the grapevine more people starting to say, well, what's the role that hydrogen's going to be playing on this? It's probably more significant than we actually realize. Now, I haven't got anything like enough information to be able to advise whether that should go into a document like this. And in those circumstances, I think we're probably better leaving well alone and just concentrating on what we can say with confidence.
Graham, I think with your short journeys, your electric car is fine. There's no way that your heavy transport or farm heavy pulling transport can go on electric. it's got to be hydrogen, because they'll just run down. But our Land Transport Committee went to the main freight depot at Te Rapa, and they have these little docking stations. So it's so quiet in there. They've all got these electric lifts and hoisters, and they just dock in and get a brand new top up of a fully charged battery from their big solar panels on the roof. And it was a dream place to be, actually, because I thought it'd be rowdy, but it was just so quiet. So I think the smaller run stuff is perfect, but the range on the heavy vehicles is going to have to be something else. Yeah.
So we're going to have to rely on the industry's research to
yeah. So you had a question?
Problems and go with it as the technology and the trends appear.
Yeah. Thanks, Sue.
Yeah, thank you, Graham. Look, I was just looking at that transport section as well, and I mean, most of the comments or questions relate to light vehicles, and there's no real, other than there is one, the freight transport question at 54. It doesn't really give any opportunity for there to be any input directly around those issues you just raised, Graham, in terms of the reality of electric solutions in heavy industries like that are dominating our district, if you like. So I don't know if it quite fits there. I don't know if they're actually even asking about that, but for us it's quite a topical thing for our district, but I'm not quite sure how that then relates in terms to council's work. But I suppose it's something that we need to be really mindful of, isn't it? The questions seem to be mostly focused around light vehicles and freight transport, and missing the whole point that there are swathes of industry around our country that will be looking at electric options going, really? I don't know that this is going to be effective. So I don't know if any of their questions, as I say, directly enable us to put that out. Maybe we could put something there in paragraph 57 in terms of other views. But I mean, as when I attended the last field days, people visited a site with great curiosity about an electric truck, and the electric truck's battery took up a good 1/3 of the tray of the actual truck itself. So
you're limiting your capacity, wouldn't you be?
Efficiencies would be pretty minimal, I would think. But I mean, there are places it would work, but I guess knowing the ins and outs of dairy farming, as both do you, Graham, and Bruce, I have significant question marks there. And I guess I'm hopeful that in the fullness of time, technology will provide us with the perfect answer, and we'll all go on happily on our way. But I guess for now, those answers aren't particularly compelling. Oh, and Alwyn too, of course, you'll understand that. So just wanted to flag that it's a significant vacuum of technology and potentially a lack of understanding of the realities of farm life, and which is pretty big in the lives of a lot of people in our district.
Yeah. Thank you, Lou.
Thank you, Graham. Sure you
Sorry,
Graham.
Something under 57 for that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Graham.
Yeah, I'd like to add something on 57 as well, because we do need to plan for infrastructure. We need the support infrastructure. That is either charging stations, hydrogen stations. We've got petrol stations, but where are we all going to go? You're going to need all of these vehicles having a situation. So in under 57, are there any views you wish to share in relation to transport? We need the infrastructure in place before we can develop this industry. We need it sitting there ready to go or being created. But at the moment, you try and drive an electric car from Auckland to Wellington, there are vast gaps in the infrastructure where you can get charging.
Yes, I can see us fitting a hydrogen tank at our farm of some sort. Susan, again.
Can I add to that, product stewardship schemes around end-of-life batteries and these electric vehicles? I'm not sure that there's really much thought given to that either. That's obviously something that is front of mind for a lot of people who are looking to migrate. And I know that when my husband, with enormous amounts of skepticism, asked the salesman who was selling this very large truck with a very large battery what was its expected life expectancy, and the salesperson was not only unable to tell us with any great precision, he had no idea what was going to happen to it when it finally did run out. Although he did have some glib statement that we will ship them back to China, which I'm not entirely confident will necessarily be a win for us all. So I think we need to be mindful that in creating solutions to problems we have today, we're not creating more problems down the track, I guess.
I can think of a number of responses here to all of your comments around that can go into question 57. The emphasis on light vehicles is probably because it's more immediate, and this plan that they're putting together is for the next 14 years. So I would imagine that the research into the heavy vehicles, the farm vehicles, the hydrogen technology and so on is probably looking to either towards the end of that time frame or slightly beyond it, but we can still put in comments around that, and hoping that that technology research can be brought forward. I can certainly talk about the need for that supporting infrastructure. And certainly council is already being approached by people wanting to put charge points in, either in towns or elsewhere in the district. So that is starting to happen, but you need to look obviously at, as you say, the long distance traveller as well. There's also some research that I've seen in North America that where you put a charge station can affect the local economy in that immediate area. That's presumably where you want to position your cafe, or you'd rather have a charge point right outside your cafe because people can then park up, and where you're going to spend 20 minutes while it charges, he come into my cafe. So there are economic impacts as well as to where they're located. So so there's quite a bit of stuff I can put into question 57 that reflects the wiper perspective and the wiper way of life.
Graham, I'm hearing that the power supply, it couldn't cope if we got hundreds of thousands of electric cars. The transmission and availability is just not there. It's in fact, I'm hearing people talking about oil still being relevant in 2040, which is only 19 years away. So yeah, unless technology moves really, really quick, that's probably where we're going to be. Okay, anything else, Graham, that you wanted to have a go at?
I'm happy if you are.
Through the chair,
Thanks, Dawn.
know Sally's liaising with a regional group around the future management of tyres and batteries. She might just like to provide some insights in terms of our ability and opportunity for us to provide some feedback or input through a process there.
Thanks, Dawn. So Susan, this is just in reference to what you're saying, that the Ministry for the Environment, as another one key part of their work, has chosen large batteries. So that is 5 kgs and above. So that is cars and up, as part of one of their mandatory product stewardship schemes. And that is currently being designed and is out for consultation. And Dawn and I are hopefully going to share that with you guys in your Friday update. And then we can bring forward your views to link up. But so maybe just even a caveat, kind of a general statement saying that you support mandatory product stewardship for batteries. And, yeah, so I've got some wording there that we can definitely work on. And so that is underway and happening. So that is positive.
Excellent. Fantastic. Can I just add on the back of the infrastructure charging stations discussion? In June, I attended an Infometrics webinar on the Climate Change Commission report, and they provided a bit of data there around sort of best practice and things. And I noted that there's an expectation that charging infrastructure will be made available every 75 kilometres on New Zealand roads. So that's a lot of infrastructure when you think about the length of our roads. So yeah, so who's going to question mark who pays for that? You know, is that going to be a best practice? Yeah, lots of things fall out of the bottom of that, I guess. So that's all. I just wanted to add that.
Thanks, Sue.
Thanks, Sally.
Bruce.
Just something I had a clip sent to me from Mark Fellows. Some of you might have seen it, senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, and he got onto batteries and said Tesla, which is the world's biggest battery manufacturer, if they manufactured for 500 years of their manufacture to store 1 day of America's electricity. So that's how, from a perspective like that, it's going to be about. So, you know, it's a small thing.
You're on mute, Bruce, and Lou, you're on mute.
Oh, that's right. No, just through you, Chair, to Sally. Sally, I just saw some very interesting information overseas where they recycle tyres and they're using it to actually relay on the roads. So they're using it shredding tyres and actually using it as a component in our the roading industry. And I'm just wondering whether I know we're a small country and we're, as we say, 5 million people, but whether that would be an option, because we have a major infrastructure problem with our recycled tyres. And I've seen mounds of them everywhere, and getting rid of them, whether that's worth investigating.
Oh, this is so topical, Lou. So that is also part of the large battery mandatory product stewardship scheme. It's tyres and batteries that they've joined together. So you guys will be able to read a little bit more information about that and share your views. So that is one of the options that they talk about, because, yeah, so it'll be where you buy a tyre, you pay for the responsible end use at the outset, so, and then returning the tyres is 100% free. So yep, that'll be within that same document that we can share, that's out for consultation on scheme design.
Thank you very much.
We had a gentleman at a Zone 2 meeting, and they're burning tyres at 2,500 degrees at the cement plant in Whangarei. And there's no emissions coming out of the stack at all. It completely wallops the whole lot. And government put in something like 20 million to help them pay for that. So that only takes a small amount compared with New Zealand, but it's a start.
Yeah. So there's a couple of places. There's that one, and there's Golden Bay and the Southland as well. So that one's you know, where you can burn because you have a high. They have a high heat need, but yeah, it's just make sure that there's an end use and an end market for everything. So they'll be looking into things that, like Lou said, and ways that we can, you know, improve all outcomes for all tyres, and hopefully capture the backlog of the ones that are currently out there stockpiled illegally or illegally.
Yes, and Jenny and I saw that big plant in Copenhagen where they were railing all the plastic from Europe and burning that at 2,500 with no emissions whatsoever coming out of that stack, and they're generating power. Looked very, very good. In the wintertime, it was a ski slope on the roof. People could go and learn to ski with the snow. It's quite good. Okay.
Overall, it's a bit of an off topic, but overall incineration of recyclables is not something that we'd really want to look forward to, but Dawn has indicated she'd like us to work a little bit more on a position on waste to energy, because there's lots of different ones, but so something we'll probably talk about more in the future.
Sally, I need to tell you, I haven't lit a bonfire since you came to Waipara. I've just been too nervous about doing that.
I'm on you, Graham, I'm on you.
I know. I'm scared of those Indians putting up smoke signals down on my farm saying Weber's having a burn up.
Come and practice on my farm.
Okay, Graham, are you feeling comfortable about what we're doing, Sally?
For this? I'm comfortable with that. I'll make amendments and get that out to you as soon as I can. Obviously, we'll need to get that signed off, and if it's okay with you, I'll ask Gary to sign that off early next week and report the final version back to you.
Thank you so much.